also going to test the microphone on this damn thing. You know what? I'll just do some acoustic stuff first. Alright. Today, we are going to do a slight and minor, not necessarily minor, could be, as far as the scales, but we're going to touch on some theory tonight using the guitar and power chords, because it's what I do. So, I just want to, if you're new to, learning music and learning how to play guitar and stuff like that, I know a lot of you are going to get into the rock stuff, so I'll touch on the rock, the power chords and stuff like that, because that is a thing that you're going to have to learn very fluently. There's two variants to the power chords, and I'm just going to do it under acoustic, because I'm just going to start off with it, because I don't know how, what the level is with whoever's going to listen to this one, so. Alrighty, first let's get started with the strings. You have 6 strings here. Each string can be played, as an open note in itself. So when you're strumming along, you have E. I don't know if you heard that. You have the E, then you have A, the one right below it, okay. And then you have your D. And then after that you have G right here. What you want to do with strings, at least with the 6 strings, you want to separate the top, I guess these would be called the low strings, but these are actually where you're positioned on a guitar when you're a right-hander. The top 3 are, like the lower end strings that more times than not will be played with power chords. And it just has that more harder rock sound. And these are the bottom 3, and obviously you can see the how different the actual strings are. So you can see how between this one and this one, between the D and the G, how different the strings are in itself. And then after that you have your B, and then E. Alrighty, now I'll just strum a few mostly known popular music or whatever, popular rock stuff that everybody has heard in their entire life. Doesn't matter how old you are. So yeah, we'll get into that stuff. I'm like really sweating a lot today. It's actually almost 5:30 in the morning. Doesn't matter. Everybody's gonna watch it when they're gonna watch it. So, alright. Basically, I'm gonna start off right up here. And you put your I have no idea if anybody can see this. Okay. Put your pointer finger, or I guess you would call it your first finger, on the first fret, which would actually be an F note. And then you put your third finger. Now, just for people that are really, really into theory, this right here, by putting this note here, which is on the actual A string, but it would be, you're putting it there, so you don't put it right here, you put it on the string below. So you put it like that. And that is of a triad, that's the perfect fifth. That's why they call it power chords, because it just gives you that full, you've heard it a million times, if you haven't played it, you haven't played it, and when you hear it and you start orchestrating your power, your riffs and start writing riffs, you're like, I've been listening to this stuff my whole life. This is awesome. And you can play a lot of punk rock and a lot of metal too. It's based off power chords, so you got to get going on the power chords because that's just the way it is. Now, there are variants of power chords. Obviously, there's inverted power chords, which I'm not going to get into in this video. But you do have the third, your pinky, which would be the octave higher than the note that you're playing on your first finger. So let me just get this one going here. Now, if you wanted to add that other note, obviously it could sound a lot better on electric, but we'll do that another time. You can get that extra note in there by adding your pinky, and make sure you press down with like the tips and contours of your fingers. Like, don't just thumb them down, because it's not gonna sound right. And you see, it sounds. You gotta get them. You gotta like feel it. So yeah, I mean, power chords, you could, one thing I forgot to mention, you slide the power chord, as you probably have just seen me do. You slide them up and down, and it plays exactly the same way. Obviously, it has different timbres because it's different notes, but you can, adjust it if you do want to. I'll show you where it goes with it. But, I mean, inverted power chord, basically, with your third finger, you're going to take it this way and go switch the first finger to go on the other thing. I'm horrible at explaining this. You're basically just moving each finger down one and up one. You're moving your pinky, your pointer, moving your pointer down and your ring finger up, not your pinky. And actually, you wouldn't utilize your pinky unless you really wanted to have some crazy stuff going on. But then that would actually cancel out that note, so you couldn't really do that. You still have to leave your pinky where that octave what I was talking about, which would be something crazy to do. Well, it could be done. Never actually tried that. Yeah, see, that didn't sound too good. So, okay, now, I'll do, like, maybe 2 open chords, too. Which I guess would still be considered power chords, but I mean, when you're doing an open, I'll just show you. Well, now you have this one here, and I'll do the other note for it to make it the entire triad. This would be the E minor, or the actual power chord, the E power chord, but it's just in open position, because that's the way, like, I have it tuned, obviously. I don't have it tuned at any other thing but standard. I have everything, there's no down tuning on any string, so everything, I said this is the E string, this is the E string note, open E string, it's not an open D or C or anything like that, so just to clear that up. So this is going to be an E chord in open position. Green Day loves this chord, they do it all the time, trust me, and it obviously pays off, so yeah. Now, if I just go like that with the 2, it is still technically a power chord. So, now what I did there, I did the 2 opens, and to add that other string and hold the third string in. Now, you could do that to just add some craziness going on, but what I will show you is the other open chord. This would be the open A chord. Open chords have a certain quality to them that on other instruments, like open string chords have different qualities, I think, than any chords played on any other instrument, in my opinion. I honestly don't know how it would be played on another string instrument. I can't talk about that because I don't know about it, so. But if I did, I would probably do that, because This is how I am. But I mean, just in general, though, like a lot of like when you get into the heavier stuff and you start really sifting through all the styles of music, you will find a lot. You'll find a lot of open chords, especially with all the crazy rock stuff that's out now, with all the crazy breakdowns and just all the stuff they factor into and all the stuff they do with the. I mean, they'll just do the whole like. See, I gotta definitely do it in the texture of having it in electric, but you get the idea. So it adds a certain feel that is not in any other chord played from the same notes. I mean, if I played this, there's no such thing. That's what I mean. Like you play piano, you play, any kind of woodwinds or brass. There's no such thing as open. There's no strings. I mean, obviously our strings on a piano. Don't get me wrong. On an actual acoustic piano and all that kind of stuff, there are strings, but it's not the same. That's what gives guitar its own feel, by having open chords, I think, and having the open strings to kind of play off and then go with the frets and everything. When you start playing with harmonics, you'll find out that that's very, very, very useful. Well, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it for this one. I mean, I'll probably do another one where I just go crazy and start playing all kind of stuff. Play some riffs that I've done, that I've wrote or whatever, came up with. Do some covers. I don't know, I could probably show you one more thing. Let's see. Sorry first. Alright. Yeah, you know what? I'll show you a few types of. I mean, like, you know what I'll do? We're talking about power chords, right? Now, depending on the type of music you're going to try to get into, you're going to want to. You don't honestly, and trust me, I've been there. You don't want to stay on, the first string of chords, because your sound. I mean, obviously, it's going to sound like rock music. Don't get me wrong, but you want to switch up some of the chords, even if it's just power chords. You want to change it. So here's a very, very common progression for rock music, called power chords. Now, just for an example here, you do these right here. So now, let's see, this is something that I didn't touch on because I only showed you like one or two chords. When you do the open chord, like I was saying, you put the first fret, the pointer finger, and then the third fret on the ring finger, see, not the pinky. And you can follow up with the pinky. And you just make sure, when you hold to do that, I guess they call them super power chords, where you add that extra octave in there. You can do that. I honestly don't like it, but for some cases, it does work. Depending on how you want to orchestrate the music. Like, that is the third fret, and on the fifth string, and you follow it up with the fourth string right next to it. You want to keep it like that. That's how you want to keep it when you do that extra thing, that extra string for the power chord. So when you're building this one, you gotta always make sure to never hit. Like when you're actually playing a chord that is not supposed to be hit off of the string, do not hit it, obviously, because it's gonna sound like this. You gotta always make sure you know where you're strumming. You have to know, okay, I'm playing a chord. Like, I mean, you could have did it this way if you really. I think I've even actually written a riff like that before. You gotta make sure you just hit these two strings. You have to know what strings you're strumming. Now, there are certain cases in chords, and obviously a lot in guitar, you have to actually mute some strings to play other notes, that are like in in vicinity of playing it. Like if you wanted to play, so you could do the E major and have that other note in there. Did that? Oh no, actually, sorry, E minor. It's not E major. But let's say you wanted to just add, like, you know, it's music. You could add all kind of chords. You know, it doesn't matter. But you have to make sure you hit the string, because if you can have your finger on there all you want, you have to make sure you strum it, and you have to. Once you start getting your feel, and you know, like you'll strum certain, you know, certain parts, and then you'll know where it's going to get muted, because you'll feel it. You'll definitely, obviously, you'll hear it too. So then after that, you got to make sure that, you know, obviously you go that way. You know, everybody has different guitars, so I'm just going off of mine. And then and you're doing 5th string on the 5th fret, and then you're doing the 4th string on the 7th fret to get that chord, and then you go right up, right above it, same you know, position or shape as they call it, and you hit the 5th string, 5th fret. Excuse me, 6th string, 5th fret. Sorry, not perfect. Alt. And then after that, 7th string, 5th string, 7th fret. Still the same, you know. And then after that, it's the 6th string, 7th fret right here, and then the 9th fret, 5th string, 9th fret. Now, this is the 3rd string, 3rd fret, 6th string. I have to get some sleep, okay? Bear with me. And then you're going to do the 5th string on the 5th string, 5th fret. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, that's a common progression. You're going to hear that in a lot of alternative stuff, or whatever, you know, all the labels they put. I don't really call. I mean, obviously I've heard alternative music done in that, you know, with those chords, but you know, you would call it the pop punk stuff. I mean, you could just put it in one part. I mean, that's just, you can orchestrate it any way you want. A lot of punk rock uses that, though. You know, pop punk kind of music. They're very, very into those chords. You know, that progression or variants of that progression. Actually, I think that sounds very similar to the song I grew up on, "New Found Glory." It's just different strummings. Obviously, there have been variants of that strumming, and you know how fast and all the tempo. You know, that's the thing with punk rock music. I think they kind of get a bad rap for just being, oh, you know, they're just sped up. I don't know what they would be called sped up, or it's just sped up rock. It's like, no, that's not. It's not just sped up rock. Because a lot of punk rock is faster. Yes, it is, but it still has its own voicing to it. Because if it didn't, people would just call it fast rock or fast-paced rock. It's got its own feel to it. You know, they do voice the chords differently than other types of rock music. Because I've heard fast metal and it's still metal. It's not, you know, just because it's fast doesn't mean it's. That's the thing. I don't really think. Yeah, I don't know. Depends. But I still because you could have slower music that's punk rock and it's still considered punk rock to me, to anyone really. I mean, I've heard slower, mid-tempo, be slower for punk rock that would be considered under, you know, under punk rock, the genre. But you couldn't really. I don't know. Depends. So yeah, cool story. Camera likes to shut off at random times. I have no idea why. But I did get 20 minutes straight of me babbling about music, so I guess that's a cool thing, right? Oh, man. I do kind of miss you can just leave the "you now" stuff on forever. You don't have to worry about no kind of stuff like that happening. Unless the actual website doesn't like you and just shuts you off for any apparent reason. Because you fucking suck. I think I got muted on there once. I don't know. I might have did it by mistake. Or I didn't know. I did it. It just happened. Because that happens a lot with those sites. They get so overblown with like just all the stuff that's going on. Because there's probably so many people streaming on that fucking thing. But I mean, I went back to watch one of those videos. And it was like, for like, probably 3/4 of the whole damn thing was all muted. And I don't know what the hell I was saying. I was probably just doing what I'm doing, being me, just talking about music. There's no way around that. If you get to know me, you're going to listen to me talk about music at some point. So. Alrighty. Well, I just wanted to wrap this up. I mean, you know, we did some power chords. And, you know, some variants of power chords. And I did show you the inverted power chords, but I didn't really touch on it too much. Inverted power chords had their own feel to it. A lot of metal and, I guess, alternative metal, as you would call it, would probably play into that kind of stuff. Never honestly really messed around with inverted power chords, so I do know what they are and how to orchestrate them. I just never really messed around with them too much. Never written anything in it either, so. Alrighty, well, I hope you guys enjoy it, and you already know you have to subscribe. You know, you don't have a choice in that matter. And, you know, leave comments, hit the like button. You're not going to hit the dislike button because I know you're going to like the video. And I'll see you when I see you.